final 2018 E3 episode, and we're going to kind of wrap up and talk about some of the conferences and all the great stuff that happened over the past week. So I'm going to just quickly introduce our panel here. I've got Mr. Samuel Tolbert.
Hey there, I'm back.
Back in black. All right, and Mr. I keep wanting to call you Rainfires. It's Jared. It's Jared in the dark.
Tuning in.
Dark mode Jared.
Dark mode Jared. The special edition. That's the digital deluxe version. And of course, Eric Jackson.
What's going on, everybody? Happy to be here.
All right. So we're going to dive into some of this E3 stuff. But first, we're going to hear from Sam because he spent a better part of a week at E3 enjoying himself, meeting people and everything else. So, Sam, just give us a little bit of rundown about your E3 experience before we jump into these conferences.
It was fantastic. It was much better than last year, and last year was no slouch. It was... I mean, I'm going to have to skim through this like ridiculously quick. We went to parties. We met so many cool people. I got to hang out with Mike Ybarra and Dan McCulloch, who's the head of Xbox Live. He's a new hire. He's been there about 6 weeks. That was really cool. Got to meet a bunch of the Twitter fam that I don't get to see except for once a year. I was sharing a place, as many know, with Lord Cognito, PlayStation Bra, King David, a couple of their friends. And the elusive Lord Hot Monkey, who was trending on Twitter at one point, thanks to Game Informer and Kind of Funny. I'll have to share that story at a later date, but
yes, you do.
It was crazy. Anyways, we had a great time. Lots of cool appointments. I mean, I'm wearing a Control shirt, right? So that was one of the games I got to check out, and I'm a Remedy fanboy, as everybody knows. So that was really cool. I can't go into detail about any of the games in particular. I'm going to be writing a crap ton of articles that I'll be sharing out over the next week or so. I'll make a thread as well. I'll tweet them out. But I will say this, it is a fantastic time to be gaming because E3 2018 was probably the best E3 for me and for others in years.
Agreed.
There are so many good games. It's not even funny. My brain melts trying to think of them all. It was a fantastic experience, and I'm already ready for 2019 to come rolling around.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I decided today I had some free time. So I decided to go back through all the E3 conferences and everything else and make an Excel worksheet because I'm OCD like that of all the games I wanted to buy. So if anyone has about $2,600 lying around, you know where to find me. But no, there was an insane amount of games that were showing. Despite E3 leaks, pre-E3 leaks, there was a ton of stuff that nobody saw coming.
Definitely. Lots of surprises.
Yeah, so before we talk conferences, I want to hear what you guys, your number one game that surprised you that was there, like a surprise game. Like, I'm not like, I know like Last of Us Part 2 was like phenomenal looking, but we knew we were going to see that. What was a game that showed up that you're either surprised that looked as good as it did, or was announced that you were like, whoa, okay.
Question.
Yes.
Does it count if I knew the game was going to be there and I had to keep my mouth shut for a couple of months?
No, that doesn't count. Insider information is fine.
Dang it.
That. No, you can use that. That's fine.
I can. All right, cool.
Yeah, that's allowable.
Well, dang it, because that's a dang it, because that broadens my options out. That's not good.
Well, okay, not all of us get the insider information, okay? So
struggle is real, man.
Yeah,
I'll let y'all go first.
I can see Eric's got his thinking face on, so we're going to start with Eric.
I'm just going to throw it out there. I mean, we kind of knew it might be there, but didn't have a real confirmation. Resident Evil 2 remake. And not that it was just there, but damn how good it looked.
Oh, dude. And dude, how well it plays. Like, I'll give you a little preview on my impressions article. Tank controls are gone. It's using the Resident Evil 7 engine.
Right.
It uses the Resident Evil 7 interface for selecting your inventory, stuff like that.
Awesome.
And the graphics, it looks good. Like especially surfaces, like a water or blood that's been spilled out on the floor in the police station. Oh my, it looks good.
I actually
that engine
I had a question for you in regards to the Resident Evil 2 remake.
Okay.
One of the key things everyone says, they said the gunplay was absolutely insane in it.
Like, you take a shotgun and you can blast someone's head off, like half of it off, and it's still going to come at you if you don't.
Okay, here's the thing. It's third-person Resident Evil 7. That's how it feels. Okay? It's
so
Resident
exciting.
Evil 7, except it looks like Resident Evil 4, because it's not the tank controls anymore of, wandering around the level. It's like Resident Evil 4, like point, stop, shoot, put the gun down, keep moving, stuff like that.
You know what? I was looking at it, and I was like, you know what? This is what we've been blessed. The remakes that we've been getting between like the remake of Shadow of the Colossus and now this, it really makes me believe that remakes do have a place, but they have to be done like this because when I saw that,
it needs to be the right game.
Yeah, it needs to be the right game. It needs to be that game that clicks with people. And like Resident Evil 2 is probably one of the best in the Resident Evil series.
Right.
There's enough games in that series that everyone's gonna have a varied opinion on that. But to see that, like when they showed off that footage, I was like, oh, there's no way it looks that good. And then they released the gameplay footage on YouTube like 5 minutes after the trailer launched. And I was like, damn, it actually does look that good.
Yeah, like all the GIFs that I think Gibble has been posting, oh man, they look fantastic. Like the mechanics in that game, I mean, it's not drastically different, but they refined it so well for Resident Evil 2 that like it almost feels like it's brand spanking new, like it's never been made before, that sort of thing.
Let's just talk. I just want to give a brief shout out. I know they won't ever watch this show, but a huge shout out to how Capcom has turned it around in the past year and a half.
Yes,
Resident Evil 7, Monster Hunter World. Now this remake of Resident Evil 2. They are doing everything so right now. Like honestly, I feel like they're just hitting their A game, and it's
Devil May Cry 5 is looking good.
Yeah.
That reveal. I know. We'll get into that. We'll get into the Xbox conference. So, but
all right.
Well, I want to say one thing about the Resident Evil thing before we move on. Yeah, I think
sure.
After we got the Resident Evil 1 remaster, I think people were kind of just setting the expectation of getting a remaster of Resident Evil 2.
Yeah.
So
we were dreaming of a remake. We were dreaming of that.
So definitely, kudos to Capcom realizing what they had with the engine on Resident Evil 7 and going the extra mile of like you said, Resident Evil 2 for a lot of people was an entry point for a lot of people. Some people missed out on Resident Evil 1.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's when the series really hit its stride.
Yeah. So that was my big surprise. So
all right, that's good. That's good.
I got a big surprise. Mine, honestly, and I think quite a few people were a little surprised. Sekiro, that from Software, that was my biggest surprise. I'm a huge From Software fan, and everybody knows I'm a huge Dark Souls, that style of genre fan. And once that popped up on the screen, I couldn't tear my eyes off it. I was like, I am going to get my Dark Souls fix hopefully soon. Dark Souls Remastered was fantastic, but the way that this game looks, the versatile and gameplay looks amazing. Like, I couldn't get over it. I'm really excited to dive into it, and it almost looks like a super beefed up Neo, which brings to mind, I think a lot of people also didn't expect Neo 2 to be announced as well. So, mine was definitely Sekiro.
Sekiro, all right, that's good. That's good. That's a good choice.
I see. The thing that interests me most about Sekiro is how far from a Souls game they're trying to take it, like the no level up system, and it's going to be really interesting to see them do something different. And like, I really think they'll do something amazing with it because like Bloodborne was different enough from Dark Souls that it felt like a different game altogether. But it still had that kind of vibe. I feel like Sekiro is the same step, thing, right? the further step. Like Bloodborne was a small step away. Sekiro is like the next big step away From Software.
You guys know it's a straight action game. It's not an RPG. It's like a Ninja Gaiden.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like this is filling the void of not having a Ninja Gaiden game. This is what people want, and I feel like with it being available on Xbox, and it's a full-on multi-plat. I feel like that's supposed to fill the hole that a Ninja Gaiden game would have filled.
Yeah,
which I'm fine with because I love From Software games. I a month ago I wasn't a huge fan of From Software, not a huge fan anyway. Mm-hmm. But lately, all I've been playing is Dark Souls Remastered and Bloodborne, and I absolutely love those games now.
It's weird, isn't it? Like, that was one of the things how me personally I really got into the Dark Souls series, and I started out as on Dark Souls 2. So I was pretty late to the game because there's all these people like, oh, Demon Souls is the best sort of thing, oh, blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool. I haven't never been able to play it, which is unfortunate. But the way that these games are, they're fantastic. Like, you almost discover who you are as a gamer or how you can play and deal with things as a gamer because the problematic situations in those games are pretty extreme. I don't know how to say it, but like for me, it was almost a personal religious experience finding out that these games are just so good because I've been ignoring them for so long. Then all of a sudden I just forced myself to sit down. Okay, just spend a day, play what you can. I know you didn't really get into it much in the first place, but as soon as I got to a certain point, I was like, I can't put down my controller. I can't. It's just, I was hooked, and I don't understand completely why still, but those types of games are always going to end up being my favorite now because I've had the best memorable experiences in playing those games in comparison to other ones. Like, personally, I think multiplayer experiences have their own type of memory. I don't know how to properly explain this, but with the Dark Souls style of games, they kind of stand out on their own, so to speak, Like, I don't know how to properly say it, but it's just.
I think what you're getting. I think I get where you're coming from. You basically, it's similar to my experience with like the Dark Souls series and what Sekiro is going to do as well. Is there's something very rewarding about playing From Software games, and there's something that From Software has perfected more than anything else. Is how you're not going to feel insecure because it's a full action game. But what they've done insanely well with Dark Souls and Bloodborne is you can craft the game to play how you want. You can do speed builds, you can do tank builds, you can do like all the variants and options you have in those games, and the challenge those games present. And that's one of the reasons why I'm always a fan of old school games, is because of the challenge and difficulty that comes from them. And I appreciate From Software not overly casualizing their games, because I think even though we have to focus to a casual market, it's still important that we have games that are hard. And I think From Software has never backed down on making a challenging game.
Yes, and I like that aspect of it because you won't you can only learn so much on how to discover and play a game through a tutorial until you actually go play the game, right? Yeah, I like how if you go to a new area and like let's say in Bloodborne or Dark Souls or whatever, you've never been there before, you got all these new enemies. You can go, okay, what is this enemy specifically going to do? Okay, you fight it a couple times, you kill it, all of a sudden a new moveset comes out from it, and you go, oh, I didn't expect that. And now the difficulty, I got to watch out for this, and I got to watch out for that. It's all the little things that they've done for those games I find are very appealing to where the discovery of the game is half the fun. Figuring things out, half the fun.
Oh, and you get before we wrap up the point on Sekiro, though, is like, the biggest thing to take away from is how well From Software has made these games and how many I see you, Sam. And how much From Software has influenced the industry. Like how many games have copied Dark Souls style gameplay. Like the meme of, oh, Hars thinks it's Dark Souls. Like it's a meme, but at the same time, it has changed how people build their games. And that's a really cool aspect. Now, before we dive into what Sam obviously knew about before E3 even happened, my personal favorite surprise announcement was actually from Ubisoft. Trials. I love Trials.
What the heck?
I know it's so
Your
weird.
opinion is wrong, and you should feel bad.
Like that may have been the worst start off to a presentation ever, with him like riding in on the motorcycle, collapsing to the stage. Like it was probably one of the cringiest reveals I've ever seen. But I love Trials, man. Like Trials Fusion was my jam. Me and my wife played the hell out of that game. I still haven't finished the last set of like ultra extreme courses because they're nuts. But another game that's challenging and actually at some points it's just impossible. But I love those kind of games. Those are the kind of games I love. And just as a sub piece, because I know Sam won't pick this one. I was very, very happy to see Cuphead DLC.
Yeah,
that was surprising.
All right, now Sam, what was your big one?
I mean, there's a ton of games that took me by surprise in terms of how good they are. It's like I guess we'll give our games of the show or top games, whatever, later. Or I can do it as a Twitter thing. But in terms of surprise, like something that caught me off guard with how good it was, it's got to be Dying Light 2. And I knew the game was going to be announced. Like that was something I had to bite my tongue on that one for like a month now, because I've seen so many people going on and on about where's Techland? Why aren't they doing Dying Light 2? I'm like, but so that was interesting. But bringing, they're taking everything that worked. And I'll dive into this in my article. But the city, you guys all played Dying Light 2, right? I mean, Dying Light, you played the original, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I have to get back in and play and finish it and everything. But
okay, but you have an idea of it. You know how it works. All right, Dying Light 2 is 4 times the size in terms of scope and the map of the original game and the following expansion put together. It is 4 times the size of that. And they brought in, as you saw on the Xbox stage, Chris Avellone, and they've turned it into a full RPG. There's hundreds of decisions. There's different endings, branching paths. It takes a solid foundation that works really well as a zombie survival melee focused game, and then they're expanding from there. They're turning it into an RPG, and so it's like, yeah, that caught me by surprise. I love what they're doing there. So that was my surprise, not my favorite surprise announcement, even though I knew it was coming.
Yeah, I have to admit, I was with. Like, I don't want to dive too deep into these because we've got so much to cover. Yeah. Thanks, Sam. So well. I was really, really impressed with Techland. Like, there is no, like, I'm guilty. I haven't played Dying Light. I got burned out on zombie games because basically it was like my buddy bought me Dying Light and Dead Island 2 at the same time. Dead Island 2? Or Riptides.
Riptide, yep. That would be it.
I was about to say, where the game is. No one's seen it for years.
No, Riptides. I started Riptides and I was like, this is awful. Why am I doing this to myself? And like at that point I was still playing like a ton of Left 4 Dead on PC with friends, and like I was really like all zombied out, so I never played Dying Light. But like that Dying Light 2 reveal, and they're like, oh, if you make this choice, this affects the whole map.
That's what's impressive about the game itself, is those mechanics, or like how the world's going to end up interacting with you with the choices that you make, and it's going to be so vastly different. They said there's a total of over 400 choices throughout the game that'll affect you.
Yeah. That's just impressive. It's impressive because Techland's sticking to a zombie game, which makes sense, but they're approaching it in a way no one else is trying to do right now. Like, even, how do I put this? If you're talking about like the premium like zombie experience, and I use zombies lightly, I know Anchor's somewhere rolling his eyes right now. The Last of Us was a great zombie game, even though they're not zombies. And that,
Anchor's definitely rolling his eyes right now.
Yeah, I know he is. But that was one of the few zombie games I felt that really conveyed a story and a sense of importance to what you were doing. But with this, it's like Dying Light 2, I just feel like they're trying to like amplify this like 10 times. They're really trying to make this like what you do affects the world, and it's absolutely amazing the amount of work that would take and how long that would have taken them. And like, this is how sequels need to be done. If you do a really good game, and like, let's face it, Dying Light was an amazingly received game, especially since everyone was pretty much like myself, burnt out on zombies, but still people were like, this is amazing. They came out with the following expansion, which more people got even more interested in. And now they're like, here's 2 with all these improvements. Like, it's huge.
Yeah, agreed.
It's a great way of doing things. So now we get to dive into the individual conferences. We're going to talk about all the conferences and everything else. So EA kicked it off. And surprisingly enough, it wasn't the cringiest thing that EA's ever done in their life. EA conferences are... now, do you remember Need for Speed last year?
Okay. All right. Low bar, dude. Okay, yes, I'll give that to you, but that is a low bar.
Okay, so I'm just going to tackle the cringy stuff first, and we'll dive into the actual good stuff. Okay, mobile.
We'll talk about Anthem.
Yeah, mobile Command and Conquer. What are you doing?
I don't know. That was disappointing, honestly.
Well, it wasn't even like it was like the predominant thing is almost every developer had a mobile game this time around, which I get. Mobile gaming's huge, and if you can spin off your franchises into mobile games, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Do not disrespect the Command and Conquer name, damn it.
That's what I felt.
Yeah, like
actually, that's what we're talking about when we were on Google Hangouts reporting on the event. We're both like, "What?"
Yeah, like when we were watching the gameplay, I'm like, "What is this?" And they're like, "It's Command and Conquer." I'm like, "No, it's not." Where they stand. I'm actually pretty sure that's what Sam sent us. But like those were obviously not like high points. There were a couple of good high points. Were obviously Unravel 2, which got the announced / release date right off the bat. That was cool. Did anyone pick up Unravel 2?
I did not yet. Only for the fact that I haven't finished the first one.
Oh God!
So I kind of feel like bad picking up the second one, when I haven't really finished the first one yet. So,
man,
me too, man. Me too.
Yeah, I do intend on finishing it. It's just
Yeah. Anyone else? Oh, I'm getting the shame finger from Rage. I'm guessing you picked up Unravel 2 then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you.
What?
You picked up Unravel 2 then?
Are you ashamed?
I knew it was going to be coming at some point because I played through the first one and I really enjoyed it. And from what I saw, it was just really well done. It was one of those games where, I don't know about you guys, but sometimes you play a game and you play through it and you finish it and you go, this game will probably end up having some sort of a sequel along with it. And when I finished Unravel, I was like, I think it will. I honestly think it was going to happen, but I was still caught off guard. I do like how I had couch co-op, or online co-op. I don't remember.
Yeah, it's just couch co-op, which is
That's
fantastic, really,
Yes.
because couch co-op is fantastic. I'd love to see more games with that. But obviously, the big takeaway, as Sam said, the big takeaway from EA's E3 presentation. Now, I won't skip over this. I'll briefly brush over this. Sea of Solitude. I think that's what it's called. It looks insanely. It looks insanely interesting. Keeping up with my whole theory that EA will release one AAA game that I'll care about, aka Anthem, and a bunch of small titles such as A Way Out, etc., that I will care about as well.
Small titles like Madden.
Small title like Madden. You stop that.
Small titles like FIFA.
Okay.
Question. Do you guys think because of the success of A Way Out is the reason why they went after or they started supporting the game SOS?
They were already supporting
Solitude?
it, but they're doubling down on the Originals program because they know it's the only way they're getting any real good press.
That's true.
Right.
That's true.
Sorry, I'm sorry if I look like unfazed here. I have literally no patience for EA or their practices. I'm over them. So
I can understand.
As far as I'm concerned, spending 5 minutes talking about EA is 4 minutes 58 seconds too long because it takes me 2 seconds to say Anthem is good. Sorry.
Well, we're hoping Anthem is good.
I got to see some gameplay.
Okay.
I got to see a very extended demo, and it looks really good. The gameplay looks fantastic. My main issue with the game was the flight mechanics, because I was like, that is pre-scripted. There is no way you're actually doing that. No, you actually are doing that. So that was a huge 2 thumbs up from me, them solving that issue. The gunplay looks smooth. The different javelin mechs, all the classes look good. My only issue right now is I need to see some of that BioWare story, if that makes any sense. And I'll dive into that later in a piece, as with everything, of course. But they seem to have the gameplay mechanics down, and it's a genre shift for BioWare. I just hope they haven't left their narrative expertise behind. We'll see.
Well, the thing is, if it's supposed to be in the lines of a Destiny, like, how much narrative will they be putting in there, you know?
Yeah, hopefully more than Destiny, at least.
Because, I mean, truth be told, I know that they're trying to chase that dream of Destiny. But I don't think anybody here would disagree with you. Would just like that to be a Mass Effect-like game in this world.
No, and that's another thing. You know? They're going to have to convince, I'll go into that as well, but they're going to have to convince people, hey, it was worth us sacrificing Mass Effect on the pillar of forgotten franchises while we move on to something else, even though you love Mass Effect. That's going to be a tough sell. Like, I saw a bunch of people, and don't get me wrong, February 22nd is way too packed. Like, holy crap, that day is way too packed. But I saw a bunch of people saying, Days Gone and Crackdown 3, dead on arrival thanks to Anthem. I'm like, Anthem has some marketing work to do. Anthem has some serious... Like, I'm encouraged by what I saw, but I'm not sold yet, if that makes any sense.
Well, see, EA's banking on, and this is the problem of, like, as Sam stated, EA is not his favorite developer for a multitude of reasons. EA is not my favorite developer for pretty much the same multitude of reasons. And the thing is EA, as a general rule of thumb, will appeal to their casual base. They've done a great job in marketing Anthem to casuals. Most of my casual gaming friends are all hyped right to the nines for this because they think it's going to be everything Destiny 2 wasn't.
No, and that's where I have issue with people comparing Destiny and Anthem because they're completely different.
Yeah, see, the thing is, though, is that what EA needs to do with Anthem is they need to convince people and show people what that difference is. And I feel like we've seen some good gameplay and everything else, but so far as showing it off and marketing it and everything else, they haven't done a good job in showing what's different. And I think if they do that, they will have a step up. And like the traversal system looks amazing. The gunplay looks great. And like Sam and Eric stated, I'm really, really hoping that BioWare shines through on this. I want to look at Anthem once it launches. I want to be able to sit there and go, this was a good BioWare game. I don't want to sit there and go, this was an EA game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not sure if that really makes sense.
It makes sense because there's been a lot of almost fan lashback because they're like, there's no romances in the game. It's not a true BioWare game unless there's romances in it. And you go, well, that's not what makes a game. That's not what defines a BioWare game.
But we need to say we seriously need to move on. But it is telling of where their head is at in terms of constructing stuff for the game, because it's always been a staple of BioWare narrative storytelling is the relationships you form with people. I don't see that as a controversial statement.
No, I think, and before we move on, just this quick spin, the removal of romances from Anthem, well, as a general whole, it's not a big deal, but it doesn't give people a lot of faith in the relationship building that you will do in the game, if that makes sense. Because the big central point of BioWare games is the relationships you build up with NPCs and other characters throughout the title. And while romance is like this piddly off-pedal thing that very few games entice, if you add romance into a game, there's this general understated rule that basically if you're willing to romance a character, usually the writing's good enough to make you care for said character. But we'll wait and see. I'm on the fence with Anthem. It's not a day one for me. Out of that whole slew of games on February 22nd, the only one I'm grabbing day one is Metro. Because Metro. But so EA, meh. We'll move on. came after that? It was Microsoft showed up after that?
Yep.
That was
Yep.
the Xbox briefing. Yep.
Yep. All right, so Xbox briefing.
Oh, we all know how that kind of went.
I'm gonna let Sam kick this one off just for the simple reason is he was actually there and saw it. I know it was amazing from home, but I kind of want to get the vibe of actually being there. So Sam, you can kick off this one, my friend.
So I told this to Eric privately in DM, and I'll stand by these words. They were facing a lot going into this. Like a lot of people were saying, "Look, this is it. This is no takebacks, no ifs, ands, buts, howevers, any other conjunction. Like Phil, you are judged on this one. That's all there is to it." And and I think it was also very telling that very little leaked beforehand, like very little. There was not a lot of stuff we knew going into this. And I think they nailed it. I think they absolutely crushed it. The reality is they were facing a lot and they handled themselves perfectly. Phil walked on stage and the confidence, the swagger was there. He was like Burt Macklin on Twitter actually said Phil has the look of a man who's got games, and you know what? He was absolutely right. Like they knew what they were about to unleash, kicking it off with Halo Infinite. They're taking all the time in the world, and that's a great thing. Make people miss Halo. I'm kind of getting to the point where it's like, yeah, I could go for another mainline Halo. I could do some Halo shooting. Where is it? Where's it at? And they're going to make people miss it, which is the right approach to take, as well as the art style going back to Combat Evolved, the gorgeous graphics, the open world scale of everything. It looks fantastic. The Japanese representation was second to none. I think it was the best it's ever been. In my opinion, at least. The games, every single one of those Japanese games was designed to address a criticism or a rumor. People think Devil May Cry 5 is a PlayStation exclusive. We're going to unveil that in our stage, and we're going to have the director come out and address the audience in native Japanese, in his native tongue. Sorry, what was that, Rage?
I was just saying the whole fan that was like, it's a PlayStation exclusive. They go, oh, crap.
No, yeah. Well, people thought Bloodborne 2 was happening. Nope, it's not happening. From Software is working on multiplat. They unveiled that. It was great. Dying Light 2. All the multiplats were designed. And Eric, I know you watched Colin Moriarty's video. He made a very good point about this in terms of just because Sony is the market leader doesn't mean they've got the third parties. Right. Microsoft was making it clear, like, hey, we got the cash. We can bring them in.
And a key point of what his video was definitely saying it proves to be that Xbox is alive because third parties will not partner with you if they feel you're on a sinking ship.
Exactly. Remember how quickly they ditched the Wii U?
Oh yeah.
Exactly.
Well, they almost ditched the Wii U day one.
Exactly.
Ubisoft was like the only one trying.
Exactly. So, Ubisoft tried a little bit, but it's like, so that was fantastic. And then the first parties. We wanted a roadmap. And I talked with Eric about this in our DMs beforehand of like, hey, wouldn't it be a dream if they actually announced that Daryl Gallagher's got a studio and they've acquired Playground on the stage? Wouldn't that be crazy? And they did. And then they got three others. And it's like, holy crap, because people are missing the fact. Playground has two studios. Playground Games has a racing team and an RPG team. So they more than doubled their first party when Phil went just like that. And that was what we needed. That was what Xbox fans needed, them to say, you know what? We're in this for the long haul. We're going to bring in these developers who've got eclectic ideas or are highly celebrated or we've worked with. And you know what? Like Undead Labs, we should have, given them some more support with State of Decay 2. Let's bring them into the family. It's a game people love. Let's give them that financial backing. Playground Games, you made the highest rated racer on the Xbox One, and they all but said that Fable was coming as well. Did anybody catch that? Where they said they've also got another open world project coming, and we can't wait to talk about that later.
Gamescom.
No, it won't be dude. No, it won't be Gamescom. It'll be next year, dude. It'll be next year. Oh, but and I find myself thinking, I don't want to get too derailed here, but Playground, seeing what they can do with Forza Horizon, I'm not sure we're ready for what Fable is going to look like. What the team that they've assembled there. And then bringing in Ninja Theory, and I heard Eric squealing with joy all the way.
I'm telling you, completely underrated developer. It seems like people are finding out who they are. based off of Hellblade. You know,
yeah,
that's a lot. They've been around forever.
You should have been there when I was on Google Hangouts with Nick reporting on that. As soon as they announced Ninja Theory was a Microsoft studio, I almost freaked out. I was just like,
I actually legitimately threw my headset.
I freaked out, man. I was so excited, and you know what? Everybody, I think, was caught off guard by that. Completely. Everyone was.
Right?
Right?
Even hardcore PlayStation guys are saying, like, okay, all right, Microsoft, well played.
Well, some are saying that, some are not so happy, but hey. I mean,
okay, let me say this.
Sony
the
had the opportunity
PlayStation
to do
fans
that.
who are actually gamers, let me put it like that. This is that announcement separated the wheat from the chaff, so to speak.
Yeah,
and in terms of, like, Hellblade was developed on what, $10 million with 20 people?
Yeah.
So 100 people, maybe even some more if they hire a bit with Microsoft's financial backing. Dude, my God,
watch out!
Bring it!
Watch out!
Bring it! And
exactly.
So yeah, that was what we needed to see. Even if we didn't get new IPs from it, they're absolutely coming at this point. And that'll be the final piece of the roadmap to fall into place. It was enough, I think I can say, for all of us, for us to say, okay, Microsoft is in it for the long haul. They're in it to win it. They're in the gym training right now.
Yeah,
I'm so emotionally invested in. Is it Compulsion Games? I don't want to screw that.
Games for We Happy Few.
Yeah, I'm so invested in those guys because there's so many people off the BioShock team that are part of the development squad that I cannot wait for We Happy Few to fully release. I bought it day one in game preview. I can't wait for the full release.
I actually want to jump on that if you don't mind, Nick, because I met the PR manager. Her name is Nyla for Compulsion Games, and she was talking about how we ran into her at the Xbox media event where we and other media were invited up to play games, and there were devs wandering the floor. And she was talking about how it was overwhelming and heartwarming all at the same time, to see her company's logo. They're a 40-person team. All right, there's 40 of them, and that includes PR. To see that logo up next to the Coalition and Playground Games and 343 Industries, and how what Microsoft basically did was they came in and said, hey, how would you guys like a bigger building and a much bigger budget? We're not going to do anything. You don't have to make anything you don't want to make, but we'd like to bring you in. The way she explained it was that if they were making their own craft beer out of their house and, a little warehouse they had, and then all of a sudden Budweiser came up and said, hey, keep doing that, but you can use our big factories now.
Right.
Yeah.
And seeing this shift in Microsoft of saying, no, you've got creative control, do whatever you want, that is one of the most important things to take away from this.
Well, I think the underlying DNA of that is Phil being the gamer. Like, Phil definitely has to he has to have his feet in two different worlds. He has to be the corporate,
of course,
person of Microsoft, but at the same time, the gamer in him must always be conflicted and fighting with, this is dumb. Why are you guys doing this?
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's kind of probably like it's like, hey, I have to take a little from column A, take a little from column B, and make them work, right? But I think that's what you're seeing with the things that kind of like were dropped and were announced, and they did exactly some of the things that we've talked about. Some of the things I've said is just draft, find talent and draft them, just like you would do when you're trying to build a team, whether there's NFL, NBA, draft some of the best players.
Matt Booty shared in an interview with Metro UK that the way they founded the initiative is once they got Daryl Gallagher on board, they handed him a blank check and said, go find a team, assemble the Avengers, pick out a building in Santa Monica, we'll fund the whole shebang. And that's like, okay, that's how you do it. That's awesome. This is aggression.
What they do.
This is, it's, I'm trying to think of how to say this. Phil has finally gotten some of the full financial backing, some of that war chest from Microsoft, and I'm excited to see what they do with it.
I see the thing for me right now, and the big takeaway some people took from this is it's going to get better is the main takeaway from this. I was blown away. Like, I figured they were going to announce they got Playgrounds, and that was going to be the bomb drop, so to speak. And then you got Playgrounds, you got Undead Labs, which was a very worthwhile pickup, Compulsion Games, Ninja Theory. Like, to have all those drop, and then you take these teams, like Compulsion Games has some really great developers behind that studio, and Ninja Theory is no slouch whatsoever when it comes to development and what they can do with a limited budget. And if Microsoft's new game plan is to be here, do what you want, to show us what you can do, here's the money. If that's their new game plan, we're going to have some amazing games down the pipe. And I think the change in development and how they do these games will help get away from some of the stigma that they have from Scalebound, Fable Legends, all these games and all these like past relationships, because everyone knows like there's a stigma relationship with Epic Games after Gears of War. There was kind of a little bit of back and forth there. Lionhead Studios, like there was a lot of missteps in that process where it looked like Microsoft was getting too involved in Xbox Studios and their hands were a little bit too much into the pie. But this new approach, very similar to what Sony's been doing, of here's the money, show us what you can do. I think we're going to have some really amazing games out of this. And I could not, like, to reel it back to the start because I had to dip back. What they did with Halo Infinite was
that's the way to do it.
Exactly what we said they should do with Fable. But the thing is they didn't do a CGI thing. They were like, this is a new engine. Like, we built a new grounds-up engine for the next Halo. I don't think people understand how big of a deal a new Halo and a new engine is. Or what potentially could come from this. But
it's
for
substantial.
Yeah, and to see even with Gears of War 5 taking a different story approach, like I'm not a Gears of War campaign fan. I love the multiplayer.
And you just lost your right to speak.
But they haven't been the most enticing to me.
You just keep digging that hole deeper.
Dude, you went from you were shovel to dig your grave, and now you got a backhoe. You're like, come on, clear the hole out, let's go.
And I'm gonna bring this bulldozer in.
If I want to go full bulldozer, I'll just be like, I never finished Halo 3's campaign because it wasn't that great.
You're on thin ice, bud.
You do not have the right to talk about it then, so I'll cut you off.
I will say with Gears of War 5, that story trailer, I could not look away.
It looks awesome.
Thing, I was so into that. And it's a polar opposite from what I usually am when it comes to Gears of War campaign stuff. Like for me, it's like, just show me the multiplayer. That's what I care about. But I'm really enticed by what they showed off. Like, it looks like there might be sneaking mechanics. I think that was something Eric pointed out to me in a DM at one point. Is like, it looks like they can sneak. I'm like,
she was going through that kitchen.
Yeah,
there's a little bit of stuff. And did anyone else get like survival horror vibes?
Yes,
and like with like the
that's what I've been wanting out of the series.
Way that the infested machines were moving and stuff, and now we're finally seeing the payoff. Because if anyone played Gears of War 4, so Eric and Jared, I know Nick didn't. At the very end, you remember how some of the Swarm were hacking a couple of the DBs, and it was like, why'd that get brought up and then buried? Well, it's like, okay. Now we're seeing some of where this stuff is going. I've said for a long time, I've quoted Rod Ferguson on the fact that they wanted to make a traditional Gears game before moving on. Like it or hate it, it is what it is, and they did. And if you read the description, there's some more information about Gears 5. It's an open world game. That skiff, you're going to be able to use that to traverse frozen lakes and actual lakes and check into different areas. And like I said, it looks like it's much more survival horror, revamped melee combat. Kate is an infinitely more interesting protagonist than JD. And JD actually looks like he's got a bit of personality this time around. Like the emotional level of the trailer, the tone they're setting there. I can't stop rewatching that trailer. I've probably watched it like a dozen times. So it looks really good.
I think I pointed to you guys too. I said, you notice like in that trailer, there was no emphasis on cover-based shooting.
No, not
that
once.
Was interesting. Like, there was a complete absence, which I really liked because that's something I really want the Gears of War franchise to sort of not move away from, but diversify its sort of gameplay style a little bit, not just be.
And I think it'll be there. I think it'll still be there, but I think what they're showing is you can take combat any way you want.
Yeah.
You know, you're not forced to like everything has to be in cover and then you clear the room and then you go. Like you want to go in blazing and melee everybody, you can do that.
Yeah.
You know, I think maybe that's what they're trying to get to.
Right.
You
Like
know.
almost. I'm not going to say Deus Ex because that's a little far, but almost say, hey, approach this situation how you want.
And
Right.
let's face it,
Like the older games, you can do that, chainsawing guys. Or if you want to pick up a big hammer and swing it around and crush guys into pulp, but you can also do these other things. I agree.
yeah,
And
I
I'm
think
looking
it'd be
forward
good.
to it.
Yeah, like I'm actually excited for a Gears of War game. Like, and to say that and to have those words come out of my mouth is absolute insanity. I'm actually going through and replaying through 1 through 4 for their campaign. I just finished 1 a few days ago, and I really enjoyed that.
Good man.
I'm going to go through 2 and 3 over the next couple of days, and then guess I'm not sure if I'm going to skip Judgment and go to 4 or give Judgment a try and see if it's just as bad as everyone says it is. But
It's not a bad game.
I was just gonna say, you know, out of many game series out there, Gears of War has been one of the few fairly consistent ones where it's been pretty high quality from start to finish.
Yeah, it's just Gears 4 campaign is just it's on record. It's just not my favorite of the
man.
campaigns.
I know.
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't
But
even played it
even you can come on, Eric. Even you would agree it's not a bad campaign.
No, I never said it. Like I've said it before, it's not a bad
Yeah,
game.
I know,
It's
it's
just there's just things in it. I'm just like, I don't like this.
I understand. It's just the way some people talk. You think, oh, it's trash. It's like, no, stop.
No.
it.
It's not.
Please.
It's not.
There's
trash.
up and
It's,
downs of everything, right?
It's
Re-
just We don't have to.
Yeah.
We've been there, so it's not.
Yeah,
There are bad games. Gears of War 4 is not a bad game. It's just not, to me personally, the best in their series. So.
okay, yeah, I can understand that.
I've always felt the second one was the best in their series.
I actually think they graduated to everything that they needed to be in every one of the games. Like you could tell they learned and grew in each one of the the releases.
I agree. Third one so far. The third's campaign is my favorite. But
maybe not Judgment, but hey, we'll talk about that another day.
Yeah,
Judgment's an interesting mixed bag. We'll talk about that some other time. We'll have the Gears of War podcast. But really quick, the last things I wanted to say is they did revive an old IP. They did what we said they needed to there. Battletoads is back, baby.
Yeah.
You know what? I actually have to eat a shoe on live stream because I said on an episode of Gaming Perspective that I would eat my shoe before another Battletoads game became announced.
Oh boy!
Get that leather going, dude. Get some nice hot sauce for
I'm
it.
gonna have to buy a new shoe because my shoes are not edible at this point.
No, dude, they're pliable now. You've been walking in them. They're nice.
Yeah,
and pliable.
didn't you know? Just toss in some boiling water for about an hour. It'd be nice and pliable.
Okay, I don't even want to get into this conversation. But Battletoads was a good surprise. Ori and Will the Wisps is looking amazing.
Let's go,
dude. Eric, I got a chance to play it. I played it for about 20 minutes. Oh my god, Ori can now burrow into the sand and like explode out, and you've got an energy bow, an energy sword, and the grappling mechanic is even better. It's just, and there's little side quests now. Like you can talk to NPCs and like find objects for them or collect currency and pay for extra items like a map of the area and stuff. It's just just inject it directly into me.
Yeah, I still got to finish.
And with the HDR, don't even get me started on the HDR. It looks so good. It's ridiculous. It really is.
I'm sure it looks crazy.
Nuts. It looks absolutely nuts. I cannot wait for that. The last thing I want to say is, even though it was a multiplat, it was the multiplat to end on. And I loved the theatrical approach Microsoft took. They sort of, in my opinion, took a page out of Sony's book for this conference in terms of the pacing, the presentation, like bam, 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 games. Have someone talk quickly. Bam, 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 games. And having CD Projekt Red hack the conference in the middle of while Phil is talking and then display the reveal trailer. So good. That was riveting. That was phenomenal.
And apparently some of the codes that they were putting on the screen were actual codes for The Witcher 3.
Yes, actually,
yes. They gave away 1,000 game codes for Witcher 3 Game of the Year edition on Xbox. They gave away 1,000 codes. That's like that's the CD Projekt Red thing to do, right? That's just that's how they roll.
Yeah.
Well, let's just face it. I sat there and when me and Jared were sitting there writing it up, and Phil's doing the wrap up, I was like, I feel like we're missing something. Like I feel like this isn't how you would end it. And then like the hack thing happens. It was funny because me and Jared were instantly like, "This is Cyberpunk, and it's on Xbox's stage right now." But the Mixer chat was all, "It's Watch Dogs 3, Watch Dogs 3."
No,
like,
no, get out of the way, Watch Dogs. We've got a real hacker game. We got a real hackers game.
Like, go away. Like, no, like
Watch Dogs 3, get out of here.
Yeah, like who's hyping that? But like in all seriousness, though, Cyberpunk 2077, the reveal trailer, or would you count as reveal trailer? Is that the first footage we've ever seen of it?
Yes,
basically?
That was the first. The first one. What we saw back in 2013 was a CGI concept. This was all in engine, and no, as people are saying in like YouTube comments, no, it's not CGI. That's how the game looks.
Yeah.
Right. So, and there was a fantastic thread on Reset Era where someone gathered up all the insights from insiders and people that got to see the game be played and everything else, and they put them into one concise list. And my hype from this game literally went from like a solid 5 to like, I need this thing in my Xbox tomorrow.
There's so much.
There's like I can't spend time on this because there's so much to unpack. But just being able to choose the gender of your character, change the backstory, and it affects everything. Your class is, I'm going to say use the word fluid, because your decisions and your story making, all that affects your class.
The jobs you take affect you. The jobs you take affect your class. You choose to be like a journalist or a rock star or a private investigator or a mercenary. That affects the skills you unlock. There's wall running. Pretty much anything in the game can be hacked. Dozens of super powerful sci-fi weapons. You've got your own customizable car, which anyone, we got to name it Roach. That's the new Roach car. I need a like a license plate that says Roach 1 or something.
That's pretty sure.
So I love it. Yeah, it was fantastic. Yeah. I would say it was like a 9.5 out of 10 overall, the conference. And I would say it's Xbox's best conference in years, if not ever.
Yeah. You know what? This conference hit a 9 for me right off the bat because the fact they started it with Halo, I was like, this
caught me off guard.
I was like, this has to be good if they're throwing Halo at the start.
Yeah,
and the pacing, and you know what? People can say it all they want, and I 100% agree. They borrowed Sony's playbook on this one, but did they ever nail Sony's playbook on this one? Like the game after game after game after game, and then here's a little blurb, and they didn't focus too much on features. As we wrap up Xbox conference talk, I think this is part of what makes Inside Xbox so great, is they're not spending time on the little technical things on the E3 stage anymore because they have a show for this now.
Right, exactly.
Like they had that little bit about Game Pass, which was like a little bit of lull, which was a really cool feature. Like.
And even then, it was also announcing strong third-party support, like Fallout 4 and The Division and Elder Scrolls Online coming to it. So
it was part of like a bigger announcement. They did the small little thing, and then they kept going. And then on Xbox the next day, they did deep dives into all the technical stuff, all the small announcements, everything else. It was fantastic. And that's, I think, with Inside Xbox being a thing going forward and being able to tackle that, we'll see better conferences and better showings from Microsoft in the future. Like Gamescom is looking like it could be pretty interesting, is what we're going to see, and things like that. I think Inside Xbox saved us a lot of the fluff that used to be in Microsoft's conferences.
There was zero fluff.
Yeah,
there was zero fluff.
That's
everything in this conference had a point. The pacing was perfect. It was phenomenal. And this is the last thing I'll say about Xbox before we move on to the others. But they're not done with acquisitions, with the first party. Phil and Matt Booty have both been interviewed, and they've both separately made it very clear that they only showed the deals in terms of like new studios or games that the ink had dried on them or was still drying. This is
they
only
even said that if there's any opportunity to do what they did with these other studios, and whatever studio agrees to come on, they're going to jump on it. They're not going to hold back anymore. They're willing to, if a studio wants to, I guess, join Microsoft Studios as whatever, or they approach a studio and they give the same offer to whoever, I want them to. I want them to do it. And it's very exciting that they're willing to do that now. I mean, like, we got 5 great studios already. What else are we might potentially get? I mean, we don't know down the road. It might be something that they've already been working on that we might not know yet. But the future is bright for Xbox. That's plain as day right now.
Yep.
Eric, any last thoughts before we move on?
Yeah, no, I agree with what you guys are saying. But I'll still maintain, that the show itself was in the tradition of a show or conference was what we're used to seeing, from point A to point B. Like you said, they didn't leave a lot of gaps, a lot of chinks in the armor, whatever. It was a good show. Something for Xbox fans to be proud of, a great foundation. But like I told you, Sam, it's a great foundation. And I know I made the joke on Twitter, but it really is a moment where you can now say, like, wait till next E3, because I think that's when you'll start to see a little bit more.
Exactly.
And,
it's like, wait till E3 is not a toxic saying anymore. That's okay.
Right. And I think, like I said, it's a great foundation to build upon. But now it's like they have the attention again. Now it's their game to say, this is what we're doing. This is where we're moving. This is how we're going, But now is the time that they have to show what that's going to be. They still have an uphill battle, of showing what those things are going to be.
Of course.
They have a great foundation.
This is a process.
Right.
This is a process.
Right. So yeah.
Xbox just needs to adopt the Philadelphia 76ers motto, trust the process. Except they've been saying it for like 20 years. So,
Shots fired.
Yeah, it's great. My favorite takeaway, and we'll move on to the next conference. My favorite takeaway was from Phil's Inside Xbox interview, and was the biggest thing we're focusing on now is pacing our studios so that we're always keeping the games flowing and everything else. And he's focusing more on getting enough studios so that they can cycle. So one drops a game while others are working on a game, and then it becomes a cycle. And that's a very good thing going forward, because what keeps people buying your hardware?
Well, easily you watch what the other two are doing. That's exactly what Nintendo and Sony do.
Yep. They've got studios that work on it, like with Horizon Zero Dawn. Horizon Zero Dawn 2 going to happen? Yep. It's got to be in a cycle, though, but it dropped at a good time where it landed. And now Guerrilla's working on something, and then something dropped to follow it. Then that studio works on something else while this is still progressing, and et cetera, et cetera. It's a good thing going forward. They have a lot to prove. It's an uphill battle, but this was a good turning point for them as a whole. Square Enix. Does anyone really want to talk about the Square Enix conference?
No.
It was pre-recorded.
I'll say this. This is the one thing I'll say about it. Square Enix got my hopes up because they were having a conference again for the first time in years. And I thought, okay, so they're going to showcase the Avengers game that they're working on, that they said, hey, you guys, it's in development. You'll see it next year. What?
And we
didn't see it.
Yeah.
Not cool. Not cool, Square Enix. Not cool. The coolest thing on the show was Tomb Raider, and we saw that at the Xbox conference beforehand. So,
yeah, exactly.
Sorry, I'm not with it.
And before we just move past Square Enix, just for time constraints too, my biggest problem with Square Enix as a whole is they showed off their new exclusive Tales of Babylon and A Quiet Man, I believe. But the thing is it's Square Enix. They can show it to me now. I know it's not coming for another.
Yeah, they showed off, was it The Quiet Man and Babylon's Fall?
Yeah, Babylon's Fall. That's what it was. Sorry. Babylon's Fall looks interesting because it's Platinum Games. So it's a new one from them, but they just, they shipped Nier Automata last year. So, and they're working on Bayonetta 3 for Nintendo. So I can't imagine they've got too much work done on that yet. But it's exciting to see the studio. They've had a couple of good hits the past few games. Nier Automata has been doing really well, so it's good to see them progressing with the new IP. But that's pretty much all I can say on Square Enix, because it was just another trailer of Kingdom of Hearts 3, which we saw at 3 different conferences this year.
Yeah, they're hitting you over the head with Kingdom Hearts, man.
You know what?
Are there any worlds that we don't know about now? Like, are there any surprises?
I get it. Kingdom Hearts is a big deal, but it's like, man, I'm sorry, I cannot bring myself to care about it. It's like, good for you. The people who care about it, I'm happy. I hope they stop adding worlds and the game actually comes out. Because, yeah, it's
going to be huge for people who have been with it like since the beginning, who are huge fans of it. But again, it's just going to be, if there are Xbox fans who came up playing those games on PlayStation, they'll be fine. But anyone who's interested in that game is going to be really like a bit out of the loop. With that game coming on Xbox with no collection coming before it. And that is very much a series that you kind of need to play the other games to know what's going on.
That's what I need to do too. Even though they said they're going to have a video recap of what everything happened in the previous games, but then I saw a lot of people go, okay, well, there might be people who still might not understand everything because there's just so much in the original games and they're remastered or like the redux or whatever, or I don't know, whatever it is, but apparently there's just so much that before I get into Kingdom Hearts 3, I want to go out and buy the other Kingdom Hearts games or ones unbundled and on PS4 so I can get through it and understand what's going to happen in the next game. Like, I'm not going to trust that video that comes out for Kingdom Hearts 3 if other fans are going to.
I will tell you this: as someone who's played every Kingdom Hearts game, if you think Metal Gear Solid games are confusing and convoluted, let me tell you something. You will play all those Kingdom Hearts games to prepare for 3, and you still won't have an understanding of what's going on.
Can't be as bad as Death Stranding.
Okay, you know what? We got to tackle Ubisoft before we get there. So Ubisoft, we'll breeze through this one. Just Dance is coming out again. There's a dancing panda. I guess that was cool. I was losing my mind. I don't know why I was hyped for it.
Yeah, you were. It was pretty funny. Like,
all right. So we'll do Cliff's notes because we've still got Bethesda and.
I know, right? You want us to handle Bethesda?
We're going to skip Ubisoft. Trials Rising was cool. Beyond Good and Evil is not coming out in the time frame they say it's going to come out. It was really cool to see that partnership where you can get your art, your music, and everything else. Like, it's going to be like a group thing. That's really cool. Never seen that before in a video game. Assassin's Creed Odyssey looks like it's continuing the Assassin's Creed series. I was hoping... Really? I was really hoping that with Assassin's Creed they were going to wait another year, but it looks like it looks like they had one good game, so they're like, yeah, we could put this back to a yearly cycle again.
Hey, I'll say this: Odyssey looks good. Odyssey looks like a good game. I will say that.
It does. It does look like a good game, and I'm not gonna lie, the setting. I'm a huge nerd for that, so I'm gonna buy it. But the big one for me, anyways, was Bethesda. Because Bethesda, the start of their show was kind of interesting. I don't know where they found Andrew WK from. Like, I don't know what 2005.
Is he relevant at all at this point?
No. Like I remember when Party Hard came out when I was like 15. Like, it's been at least a decade for him, but it was a decent musical show, and it was kind of a rough start. The interaction between the two I think it was the Rage 2 developers was probably one of the worst, where they just awkwardly stood there looking at each other because they didn't seem to know what to do on an E3 stage. And you're bad for this. So we'll talk about Rage 2. What was everyone's Rage 2 impressions as a whole? Like, what did you guys think? Like, I thought how they introduced the collector's edition within the trailer was probably one of the coolest things.
I need that talking head.
Yeah, I need that talking head. What was your guys' impressions about Rage 2? Like, because it's a game that not a lot of people expected to come out. Where are you guys sitting with that? Because it had a really good showing at E3, and it had a really good viral marketing campaign behind it as well.
My impressions of Rage 2 are the same as they were before E3. Gimme. Gimme. It's Mad Max and Doom with a tiny bit of Fallout sprinkled in there. Fantastic. Gimme.
I don't think you could ask two better studios to work together, honestly, for a game like that. It's just like a match made in heaven. And I honestly kind of hope that more studios look at this game and go, hey, why don't we work this with this other studio and work together to create this one game sort of thing? I would like to see a lot of, or not a lot of, but more studios kind of work together to create games.
Well, let's face it. If you want to talk about the pinnacle of FPS gaming, you don't have to look too far beyond ID Software.
Exactly.
We'll talk about some of the surprises. The Wolfenstein Youngblood expansion.
I didn't expect that at all. That took me by surprise.
That was not something I was entailed or detailed to about in a briefing I had.
I'll take it. Or a new game?
Oh yeah, it's Wolfenstein with like 2 female protagonists. Sure, I'm game. Let's go.
Yeah, and like to make it like the thing is people were like, oh, it's not going to be the same without BJ. I'm like, it's his twin daughters.
Right.
How cool is this going to be? Like this guy was like the OG Nazi killing machine.
Yep.
And this is his twin daughters. Like,
right. And it takes place in the 80s.
Co-op.
Exactly. So an 80s setting, and let's say it with me, guys. Co-op Wolfenstein. This is
right.
Oh yeah. I mean, Bethesda. You want to talk about publishers that have turned it around? Capcom has done an amazing job, but 5 or 6 years ago, the average gamer probably did not know Bethesda was a publisher, not just a studio that made Fallout and Elder Scrolls. They are on fire with their single player games, and I love it. It's fantastic.
Yeah. For sure. Doom Eternal got teased. That's cool. Doom Gang a sequel. We talked about this on the show. We had that under our predictions. We had it classified as Doom 2, but I guess they're getting away from using the numbers because there's already been a Doom 2.
Yeah.
So Doom Eternal, I'm with it. More demon killing, more fun. Like they can just really build on that formula for
double amount of demons, more weapons. Sweet.
Yeah.
Prey DLC.
Yes.
Prey DLC.
Yes, that was surprising.
You spin me right round. It's like, yes, this is perfect. I love it. And it's Xbox One X enhanced, which means Eric is now in the club.
Yep.
Yeah, actually, I just mine's downloading.
It's lined up
now.
It looks good.
I cannot wait to go hit it back. Oh, Jared, have you played it? Have you checked out the
I played a little bit. I don't have the Mooncrash DLC.
Okay, but just give me like a 60-second rundown of the enhancements. What have you noticed?
Oh, crisp, clean, bright, colorful, smooth. It's nice. Like it's not a huge, vastly improvement from what I remember from the original game, but boy, it's nice, especially on a 4K HDR TV. Holy crap, it's nice.
Awesome. Fantastic.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to jumping into it.
I was going to say one of the things that was noted. I saw the Reddit quote unquote review of the enhancements. They said the frame rate was vastly improved, especially when you have multiple enemies on screen. It doesn't jar. Apparently,
no,
good.
It doesn't. I honestly don't think I saw a single frame rate drop at all when I was playing it.
Which is a huge improvement because that was one of the complaints was that sometimes if too much got going on at the same time, the frames would kind of drop. I say kind of because it wasn't like massive drops, but those little drops can be just as annoying.
Yeah.
So smoothing that out is fantastic, and I look forward to diving into Prey. I actually got the digital deluxe version, so it had all the DLC plus.
There you go.
It was $50. Like that's a steal. For that
game, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that. Who's going to play Elder Scrolls on mobile?
Let's just skip it. Let's skip it.
Come
on.
Okay.
Let's just skip that conversation altogether.
For it just to
I get why they're doing it. I know why they're doing it. I really can't bring myself to care. I understand the economics of it. It's another way to bring in some cash to help keep these studios employed because no one buys their games for some unholy reason. Whatever. Let it be. Let it be its thing. Let's move on to the real meat and potatoes of what God Howard brought us, and that is the trifecta of
Skyrim
Fallout
on Alexa.
76. Skyrim on Alexa. No, those were some good self-aware jokes. That was good.
Todd Howard nailed it in his presentation because we'll talk about Fallout 76 first. And when he was introducing the beta program, he's like, I read on the internet that some of our games are buggy. That's good self-awareness. They were very self-aware. Todd Howard keeping it light and humorful through the whole thing, and honestly, I could actually do with Bethesda's E3 conferences being hosted primarily by him, honestly, because he is very well spoken, really well, and the in-depth videos they did to explain Fallout 76 were fantastic.
Yeah.
And an interesting thing, too, because we have to keep cycling along, there is a video that, of course, Mr. Bethesda himself, Anchorman, sent me. There's a video documentary from NoClip that is exclusive to them. They go behind the scenes behind Bethesda Game Studios, kind of cover the story of development behind Fallout 76. So they talk to all the developers about the different things, all the different aspects of the game, as well as they briefly touch on what could be going on with Starfield as well.
Nice.
It's a
Send me
little
that link.
I know. It's a little short 40-minute documentary. It's fantastic. It gives you an idea how Bethesda makes their games, how much they care about their games, and how much they care about their IPs. It's fantastic.
I'd love to watch that too.
Yeah, I'll throw it in the video link or the video description of this podcast. So if anyone wants to check it out, I'll send it to our group DM later tonight for you guys.
Cool.
So Elder Scrolls 6 and Starfield confirmed finally.
Yeah, that was both of those. I was hoping. I'll be honest. I gave the Bethesda conference an 8.5. I deducted slightly for some pacing issues, but otherwise I think it was the second best conference of E3. I will say I wanted more out of Starfield.
Yes,
I wanted a little more okay, I'm glad you acknowledge it exists, but I was hoping for more than that. Elder Scrolls 6 was clearly yes, it will happen. Please stop bugging us.
Basically.
That was, spoiler alert, that game ain't coming out for years.
Now, question to put forward to you guys, because this is a good 5-minute talk point right here.
Okay.
Is with Elder Scrolls 6 and Starfield, everyone thought Starfield was further along. Let's face it, most of the inside leaks that we've seen on Reset Era and what I've heard as well is that this was supposed to be coming next year. It's not. It's not from that teaser.
Not from that teaser, no.
Not from that teaser. Do you think, because we know Elder Scrolls 6 is in the new engine, do you think that new engine, when it was developed, will be used for Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6?
Yeah, I think so. I think they probably have developed a new engine, and that's what Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6 will run on. That would be, especially because it seems to me that at one point Starfield was probably intended for this gen, but they decided, no, let's just push it to next gen. Because they outright said that it's a next gen game.
Yep, they did.
So
you know what?
I think at one point the plan was probably to have Starfield be the closer for this gen, but they've decided, you know what? We're developing this great new engine for Elder Scrolls 6. Why not just use that for Starfield as well?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's just my line of reasoning regarding that. You guys can feel free to disagree or whatever.
No, I agree. And you know what I'm most looking forward to is we're going to have a next gen kick off with Starfield and potentially Elder Scrolls. No more knack, no more Kinect sports games to launch if I can buy a next gen Xbox or PlayStation in a Starfield bundle.
Yes, please. I'll buy it. I'll buy it.
Oh yeah.
So as we got to keep moving along here, we're going to talk about Sony, because a lot of us we're going to use Nintendo as a small point, because does anyone even on this podcast own a Nintendo Switch? I think Eric's the only one.
I think Eric might be the only one. I don't.
He's
Eric,
the only,
you do, right?
Yes, I do.
Yeah,
I thought
Eric represents and will be our representative for the Nintendo delegation. but Sony's E3 conference. Now, it was interesting. I want to get Sam's thoughts on this because from the people watching at home, there were some people disappointed in how they presented that presentation. But how was it actually being there? Because a lot of the people I saw that were there said had good things to say about it.
Well, okay, so I was a part of the PlayStation experience of it. It means that we were like, they did not invite a lot of media to this location. I want to make that abundantly clear. They had maybe 150 people.
Yeah, it was small.
This was PlayStation's smallest E3 in years, if not ever, in terms of who they invited. I was a part of the experience event, which meant I was part of the media, like the larger group, who got to see it in theaters. So I experienced the pacing issues just as much as everyone else did. I'll sum up my thoughts on the PlayStation conference with these 3 topics. All right, I'll say 3 things about it, and that's it. 4. I'll say 4 things. These 4 things. I'll go a little Monty Python here. Last of Us Part 2 looks insane, and if it weren't for Cyberpunk 2077, it would have been my favorite game of the show. Point number 1. I want that noted. All right. Point number 2. Sony, don't ever use this format ever again. Ever.
Agreed.
You are supposed to be the masters of the theatrical presentation, bringing your movie experience to how you're doing things. I don't know what happened here. I don't want to know what happened here. Don't ever do it again. A 20-minute break in between your deep dives, which aren't actually all that deep, is not a good look. It's especially when none of them even have a year attached. Well, 3 of them, Spider-Man, we know the release date, but the other 3 don't have a year attached to them in terms of a window when they might come out. No, don't do it.
Yeah.
Please don't do it. That was my second point. My third point, Dreams is now a 2019 game. Sorry, that's all there is to it. That game was supposed to have a beta this spring. Eric, you and I talked about how if it was pushed to 2019, things aren't all bang shui. It's not looking good. Well, okay. I mean, it is what it is. Media Molecule needs to get some things figured out because they confirmed that game has been rebooted 3 times. 3 times.
Yeah.
So, all right.
I think
whatever.
the reason where not to derail our dreams. Like,
no, please.
It's one of those things where it's like if it was like a Ghost of Tsushima or a Spider-Man or something like that, it would definitely be one of those things where people are like, "What the hell?" But I think no one really knows what Dreams is.
Right. Media Molecule is a smaller studio.
Right.
They're a 60-person team. It's a small building in the UK. Fun fact: it's Sony's only remaining UK studio after a couple of the others were closed. It's just a little fun fact, but so I definitely think they have like a lot more artistic, creative freedom to just sort of screw around and do what they want. But
eventually, you got to
come on,
yeah, like, you got to do something with this game.
This is wearing a little thin here. And then yes, as my brother said, the fact is that was going to be another point. Neo 2, that was a great little announcement. Between my brothers, I'm not going to hear the end about Neo 2 for years to come, most likely. My phone I saw the announcement, it was exciting, and then I was like, oh no. And sure enough, my phone started blowing up with notifications. So yeah, shout out to the 2 biggest Neo fans in the world. That's my thoughts on it. My overall score for them would be like a 7 if we're doing scores, or a 6.5, something like that. Fantastic games, phenomenal games, but the presentation brings it down. So
yeah.
Anyone else can feel free to talk about Sony.
Well, like,
yeah, go ahead, Jared.
Oh, okay. I was just gonna definitely say like the pacing was a big issue to me personally, and definitely to a lot of people as well. I think if they just stuck with showing those 4 games and in a nice big theater, kind of the way that Microsoft did, it would have been much better off. Don't say you did deep dives into the game. You didn't really do a deep dive. You showed a little bit of cinematic before gameplay and then a little bit of cinematic afterwards for basically each game. That's not really a deep dive. If you're going to do that, talk about the technical aspects of the game. Talk about like those sides instead of just kind of leading people on with, here's a game that we've already shown you and talked about for many years already. Here's some gameplay without a release date window. Here's the next one. that you guys are super excited about, that you finally get to see gameplay of Ghost of Tsushima, which I'm super excited about. Personally, the game looks fantastic. So excited. But still, again, no release date window. But it looks so polished and ready to go. I don't understand why. That was the same thing with Last of Us 2. And then they kind of just continue on with that. I think they could have also done a little bit better with the Death Stranding video as well. Maybe done a little bit more explanation, but of course it's Hideo Kojima. It's just the way that he is. But
it's not confusing people. You can understand it. It's all right.
But like, I was actually really disappointed in the Death Stranding video. I not that I wanted to see more, but I did not like the way that the character was moving. And to me, that it almost shows that the game is still quite a long ways off. I don't understand why they would be wanting to show a game or what might potentially be another 2 to 3, 4 years down the road until we actually see it released. Like, I don't understand why you're showing something so early and then leading fans on to where, like, kind of like God of War, you've known it for so long, you're like, oh, finally, it's finally out after 5 years of waiting. I like the approach of where other companies are starting to do, like Bethesda, for example. Hey, we got these great games coming out. Here's the announcement for this one, but it's coming out this fall, or it's coming out sometime next year. I at least give a bit of a window. You really gotta, with such a large fan base and such a large player base, you really gotta make sure that your fans are gonna stay invested in that platform for the period of time. Now, they only really have Spider-Man coming at the end of this year with no release windows for The Last of Us 2, Ghost of Tsushima, and Death Stranding. Their other 3 major IPs. What are the next few years going to look like for them?
Well, I was going to say it's safe to say we'll find out more release window wise at PSX most likely.
Yeah. No, I'm going to jump in on that. People said the same thing last year. People said I was saying God of War was getting a release date guaranteed. I said that Spider-Man and Detroit were likely getting release dates, but God of War was assured.
No,
not at all.
See,
I wouldn't say assurance, but I think if you could still get, I don't think it'd be Paris Games Week. I kind of said it to you earlier, Sam, and I'm gonna walk that back. I don't think Paris Games Week is the place that they would actually give release dates on some of this stuff. PSX maybe not, but I'm gonna actually jump in and kind of say when I think they're kind of doing this different thing where they are kind of, if you really think about it, they are kind of pulling a little bit more in the lines with Bethesda. It's like they used to give that release date, and then when they had to push it back, they caught hell for it.
Right.
Now they're kind of showing it to you, and then when they get close enough, they go, okay, this is the date, and then people have they've been okay with that.
Right. I prefer it too, as well. Yeah. I agree with you, Eric. I think you know what? Don't tell us what God of War's release date is until it's actually, a couple of months away and it's going to happen. I'm just saying we can't expect them to follow that strategy and also think, oh, well, they didn't give us a release year because we'll get it at Paris Games Week or PSX. Like, no, I would say that's not guaranteed. We'll probably get more gameplay. In fact, I think that's like a guarantee. We'll see more of the games, and that'll be cool. But
yeah, because I think the only ones, like Nintendo gave us, release dates on Smash. Microsoft gave a release date on, we knew Crackdown, and we now know Forza, but we still don't know like a release date for Ori.
Yeah, or Gears. They both just have 2019 attached.
Right. Yeah. So again, that's smart. You kind of have to play it that way now because you don't want to get burned. You don't want to go too early, right?
Right.
I don't know, Jared, were you done? I don't want to
go for it.
Yeah, dive in, Eric. Dive in.
I'm gonna say disjointed. Definitely. I was sitting there at home like, wow, this is interesting. I don't think you need to do the church thing. I understand The Last of Us 2 is your big game.
Yeah,
that is a big game. I think honestly they were trying to be theatrical. I just think it backfired on them.
Yeah, I think they got a little too theatrical.
Yeah, it was a little too much. I think you could have had all that in one theater, and or if anything, have a rotating stage that had like the church set up somewhat, and you kind of show some of that. I don't think you had to do the banjo and the flute dude unless they were like playing along with some of it and like leading into it.
Yes.
From
Like the God of War Orchestra. The God of War Orchestra worked because they were providing the music for the game.
Right. So now that being said, I'm going to disagree a little bit with you, Jared, on the deep dives. I think they set out to do what they wanted to do. They wanted to give you a slice of what to expect. Because if you think about it, what we saw in Spider-Man up to this point was kind of the same thing. We saw like some of the same footage. He's like on that rooftop. He's taking down some criminals. This time they were like, you want villains? You want his arsenal or his rogue gallery?
Yeah, like
that's true.
They're here.
I'd actually make the argument that they probably they were closer to showing too much than too little as far as Spider-Man's concerned.
Now that I think what saved that though, Sam, is that one thing at the end where he's like, "You."
Right, and it's obvious.
Like, who is you?
But it works because like we've talked about before, Spider-Man has such a rogues gallery that could be anybody.
Yeah, Spider-Man has a rogue gallery on the level of Batman.
Yeah.
So when you see them like one after the other, and then the designs of each one of them is awesome.
Oh, it looks so good. So good.
Yeah. So I was gonna say, I think if they would have gone into the technical sides, I think one thing they could have done that would have been cool is say, okay, you've seen the sample size of what we're doing with each game. Now you can go to like PlayStation Blog or you can go to YouTube and we have developer diary type stuff, right?
I'd have been cool with that.
I think if you do that, but I think if you do that on stage, you're gonna lose people. You know, like it's almost like how people like goofed and said, okay, when they say deep dive, I hope they don't pull the couches out, you know, and pull the developers on stage. And this, you know, was sort of like you're showing, because up to that point we had not seen what Ghost of Tsushima was, so we finally
we had no idea what kind of game it was.
Right, we had no idea. Death Stranding, you can.
It's not that confusing, people. It's not that confusing.
You can take, I understand exactly what Jared's saying. I mean, you got some people that are like, hey, I'm good with it. I just want to see more. Yeah. Look, I'm a Kojima dude, so it's just like, hey, it's a roller coaster. and this whole thing is just like, it's either going to be amazing or it's going to be just woo. But either way.
It'll be pure Kojima. It'll be pure Kojima, baby.
Kojima on a plate. Here we go. So I don't expect anything less, you know. Yeah, so and I think we'll see more of that. But yeah, there's definitely some things that, you know, they'll still, I'm sure, work on and reveal. But that's the thing with Kojima too, is like Kojima's very much the guy of bait and switch. He'll show you one thing, and then when the game actually comes, it's something completely different.
Of course.
He loves to do that. He loves to play around with, I'm just having some fun with the trailer and being like Mr. Cinematic and messing with your head. And then when you get the game, you're like, oh, okay, this gameplay is insane. And it's a visual showpiece, and it's completely different. And you're like, that had nothing to do with any of that trailer stuff that we saw. He's pretty good at that. So we'll see. We'll see how that all pans out.
That's true. You bring up a good point.
Yeah. So, but I think it is meant for you to go, what? Because look at it. Everyone's talking about it.
Yeah, for sure.
Everyone's talking.
I was just going to mention, I'm always going to think until I play the damn game that baby has to do with something with his equipment. I am starting to think that baby is a requirement.
This equipment back in 2017. Yeah. No one listened to me. One day, people will realize that I was right from the get-go. Guys, it will be revealed.
Kojima solved the world's energy problem. They're babies.
I'm going to say this. If you're going to say that you're going to do deep dives on a game, I don't want you to drag out the developers. I don't want you to drag out the dev team for this. But it would have been nice to have Druckmann come up, say a couple of words about The Last of Us 2, about some of the new things to expect in the game.
Yeah.
It would have been nice to see Kojima actually, like, not explain anything, because he never explains anything in a clear, concise fashion.
Kojima and Keeley.
He could have come out and chuckled and held the controller as he played it.
You can't have Kojima without Keeley.
There's a level of miscommunication between Kojima, his translator, and what actually is what's supposed to be going on. Like, it never makes sense.
Yeah.
I
actually think Nick, that would have gone a long way. I like what you're saying there. I think.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying.
Having those studio heads come out there and present their games, that would have been really cool.
That was my point earlier.
When Rod Ferguson came out with all the Gears announcements, it was like, hey, we got Gears. Like,
these guys are rock stars in our world when you really think about it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like when you think of The Last of Us, you think of Druckmann. Like when you think of Death Stranding, you think of Hideo Kojima. Like these guys are rock stars of their development studios. And like even if they like, I know with Kojima it's an issue because of language barriers and everything else with him, because his English is hit or miss. Yeah. And he likes to lead people along and kind of troll interviewers and everything else. And there was a ton of information. If people want to know more information on Death Stranding, that Jeff Keighley and Hideo Kojima YouTube video actually dove into some of the like more technical side of things and what they're trying to accomplish with that game. But yeah, when I was expecting deep dives, I was just kind of expecting like more than just gameplay trailers. You know what I mean? Like, if you're going to reveal something, if you say, like, there's difference between if you're revealing something, which is fine, and then when you say you're going to do a deep dive, and like Sean Layden, when he first came out and was like, this isn't like our normal conferences, basically, he was like, tone down your expectations. This is what we're doing this time. I was fine with that. If they want to do it differently, that's cool. But the 15 minutes for a conference room change was the worst, because they're like, we should just be about
that's
ready.
Over the top.
Yeah, like it was just like, and like it made the announcements that they did in between those seem less notable,
less lackluster.
Like when they like if they'd been on stage and they went, Call of Duty Black Ops 3 is coming to PS Plus, people would have been like, that's really cool. Most people didn't even like. I took to Twitter like 2 hours later, and people were like, "Oh, Black Ops 3 is on PS Plus, I guess." I'm like, "Whoops!" like it was a different way of doing their show. I co-signed with Sam. Please don't ever do this again.
I think a lot of people felt that way.
Yeah. The games they did show were really good. Ghost of Tsushima showed really well. I love the dynamics of the environment, all the stuff moving while you're fighting, everything else. Looks like a beautiful game, and it's got a lot of potential. Death Stranding's whatever. I'll play it when it comes out. Whenever it comes out, I'll play it. I'll enjoy it. I'll be confused. I'll play it again. I'll still be confused. It'll be great. But as an overall thing, when it comes down to the actual games they showed and not the presentation, Sony had a good showing. They showed off some good games. Troll was really cool. It was a surprise to see it there. That was really cool. Resident Evil 2 remake. We've already talked about that. That was amazing. And yeah, I think ahead they've got a lot of good stuff in the pipes, but I will co-sign the lack of launch windows is interesting.
It's not the end of the world, but I do think it's telling about where some of those games are.
Yes,
well, see, I think that's kind of yeah. And like I don't think it's an issue yet, but if we start heading into spring, like let's face it, there's tons and tons of third party dropping between October to like March. That I would not even try to run an exclusive against, because spring is the new holidays. So
yeah, well, I mean, like February 22nd alone, right? There's 4 games dropping on that one day. I think there's one thing I would like to touch on for the Sony conference before we move on. Is very, very quickly. I think what really kind of irritated me a little bit, or really confused me, was at the very end of the Sony conference. They did the whole showcase, everything like that, and then they stopped. They went to the after show interview with the whole panel, that sort of thing, right? And then 10 minutes afterwards, like, okay, here's a surprise announcement, and they did a new game reveal outside of their conference. Even though it was a very quick blip, there was no game title. It was just a simple graphical trailer, looks kind of pretty about whatever background it was, and it's just a VR game from Software. That's it. That's coming out for PSVR. I was really surprised they didn't interject that into the actual conference itself, because I think a lot of people missed that announcement. I don't think a lot of people know about it at all. I'm not sure if you guys knew about it afterwards as well, but I sat there and watched
I
a little bit
watched.
more.
I mean,
like,
I think people know about it. I think people watched it. The thing is, though, you don't say. And we've got one more thing from Software, and then it be an artistic PSVR game. That's just
yeah.
Come on. Come on.
What?
What's going on there.
What? Okay. All right. Yeah. Cool. Good job, Sony. You guys did what you did. Yeah. Job well done.
So yeah. I think we've talked Sony to death about pretty much everything there was. We can all agree. Format, games. So, Eric, since you have a Switch, why don't you dive in on the Nintendo presentation, since you're better suited to give us the rundown as opposed to us non-Switch havers.
Actually, I didn't really get to see much of the Direct. I did see a lot of the Smash coverage at the end of it. And some of the stuff that they announced, like going into it, I think Fire Emblem got pushed back till next year.
It did. Yep.
Right. Smash got its release date. But hey, I mean, if you're a Smash fan, there was a lot for you to to relish and take in there. I'm looking forward to Smash. Do I think okay, my initial point on that was like, well, Nintendo does directs throughout the year.
Sure.
So, it kind of is what it is. But at the same time, it is E3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And most of their E3 directs have always been pretty big. And ultimately, I think from what I've heard from people and a little bit I've seen of it, it was a bit lackluster. It was a very heavy focus on Smash.
Yeah.
Which again, if you're a big fan of Smash, then that's fine. But, if you're not, you're kind of sitting there like, well, where the hell is Metroid? You have nothing on Metroid Prime yet, which kind of makes me think, excuse me, when they showed the JPEG, I started thinking about this when it came to Microsoft. I know people say, well, at least show a JPEG of Fable so we know. It's like, well, no, we all kind of know Fable's coming, so what's the JPEG going to do?
Right? Exactly. And that, I was okay with that as well, especially since they said they're teasing, another open world project and they're going to share more about it later. It's like, fine.
So I kind of thought not to jump back on Microsoft, but I thought, okay, they didn't want to do that with Fable because they're kind of like, well, we can all wait until later to see more of that. And when we show it to you, we really want to impress when we have something to show. So I think that may have kind of happened with the Metroid Prime announcement, but I at least thought there was going to be Metroid Prime Trilogy announced.
Same. As well as a Wind Waker HD, Twilight Princess HD, or even a double pack.
Right. I also thought that there would be something about the new Star Fox game, but we ended up seeing that at Ubisoft. Not seeing that, but seeing Star Fox and that what's the name? Starlink, yeah. Which I don't know what the hell that thing's gonna be or what that thing's gonna do, but I'm like, damn, that's ballsy in a world where Toys to Life stuff like that is pretty much done.
Yeah.
So
ballsy.
Yeah. So I think ultimately, people felt let down because some of the speculation, some of the things that people thought were going to drop just didn't happen.
Right.
Well, I was going to say Reggie came out and talked about Metroid because that was a big talking point on Reddit and Reset Era about where's Metroid. Mm-hmm. And Reggie said it was unfair to their fan base to lead them along and tease them with stuff if they didn't have much more to show, and that he would rather hold off and then show you a more full picture down the road was essentially what he was across is saying. Mm-hmm. So basically when they hit the next milestone, expect a Nintendo Direct and they'll show it to you. But he just didn't think they were to the point where they needed to show it. So that obviously it's not going to come this year. Next year.
Yeah, which makes me think when they showed the JPEG that it was literally getting started on development. Do
we have a team working on that? You sure?
Yeah.
Oh, sure. Okay, cool. Let's put it out.
Right.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
So, but again, some of that, Nintendo's very good with keeping you on a roadmap throughout the year. But again, I do say, depending on how you feel about it, E3, you do have to come with some big announcements. I think they showed some pretty cool stuff, from what I've seen on different sites. But was it anything that made people super excited? It's outside of Smash? I don't know. Maybe not.
outside of Smash, probably honestly, I don't think so. I mean,
right. But to be fair, this is their biggest Smash yet.
Absolutely. And
everybody's there.
You're bringing Smash back, like that is the way to do it. Every character ever.
Right.
Yeah, that's
so
fantastic.
that's nothing to scoff at,
No.
No. Like I spent years playing. Like I have 3 brothers. I don't have any sisters. I'm the 3rd youngest in my family. I'm the middle guy. Me and my brothers on the N64 would play the crap out of Smash Bros. And we would have like the best tournaments between just us forever. And you know what? I don't have a Switch, but I am so excited for this new Super Smash Bros.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, and what Tommy just said in the chat, Mario Party using the different switches is cool.
Yeah,
it is still kind of like it is one of those things too, where you go, the couch co-op aspect is cool. We understand why Nintendo pushes that, but at the same time, it's sort of like you got to get that online in there, man.
That was a huge downspin on theirs because everyone was like, Mario Party, I can't wait to play this with my friends. And they're like, yeah, you get 5 mini games you can play online with your friends, but you can't actually play the core Mario Party game online with your friends. I'm like, that's a huge miss.
Can't roll with that. I can't roll with that.
That's a huge miss and a half in regards to what to expect. And it casts doubt on some of their announcements too, because a lot of people were sitting there like after the Mario Party announcement, people are like, wait, Smash is still online though, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like that had to be reconfirmed like it was like reconfirmed like 8 hours later.
Right. But I think a component of Smash is online, but I still think if you're trying to do like 8-on-8 or something like that, like that's still couch co-op, I believe.
Yeah. I think so. Like Nintendo still doesn't have the full online capability, which is just a shame because they have so many great games that are designed around that style, but I don't think architecturally they're there yet.
And speaking of the online, I thought we would have had something of a roadmap or some information on what the upcoming online rollout is going to be in September.
Yeah, a lack of that is like. I mean, again, you said it, and Beam Money said it as well. It's true. It's worth repeating. Nintendo does not value E3 as much as all the others do. Okay, they don't.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, they broke from convention a long time ago.
They did, but nonetheless, it's like this is probably the least they've cared about it ever.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
pretty much.
We'll see.
Yeah,
and then maybe they felt. Hey, I mean, if you really think about it, Smash is fan service left and right. So maybe they felt that was enough until they have the next direct. And I would say this: their next big direct is probably going to be a major one.
Yeah, not only it needs to be. It needs to be a major one.
Yeah. Well, but fan service wise, they answered. They basically answered their fans on Smash.
Yep.
You know, people are begging for Snake to be back. You got Cloud. You got Cloud in there. I mean, really, for the first time. I mean, people have been asking for that forever, and they were like, "No, we couldn't do it. We can't do it." You know, whatever. It's there. You know.
Yep.
So again, if you can't stand Smash, you were probably pissed.
You know. The big takeaway from Nintendo as a whole, and they didn't really do a good job in highlighting this, is Fortnite's now on Switch, which is a big deal. It may not be a big deal for people like us, but it's a big deal for casual appeal. It had 2 million downloads within the first 24 hours.
Wow.
Absolutely obscene.
That thing's a juggernaut.
Insane.
So Fortnite, you have Smash and Pokemon, not mainline Pokemon, but still a Pokemon game nonetheless, all dropping within a month period of each other. Mm-hmm. Pokemon dropping mid-November, Smash dropping in December.
While it's dropping,
I'm going to have to mug someone for Nintendo Switch on Black Friday so I can play these games because it's funny because like so that we can wrap this up. Nintendo's E3 didn't really appeal to a lot of us because we're not the biggest Smash fans, or maybe you're not a huge Pokemon guy, so you're kind of sitting there with the Nintendo Switch being like, whatever. It's kind of thing. My wife, who after we bought the Wii U and that whole debacle, said there would never be a Nintendo console in our house again.
Oh.
We watched the Nintendo E3, and I was writing up some of the Nintendo stuff, and she looks at me and goes, "Can we get a Switch?"
Hey.
I'm like, I don't know, can we? Like, I don't know, like Pokemon be kind of cool and like Smash is awesome. I'm like, yeah, see, this is the energy I need.
And no lie, man, my nephew and I, we played a ton of this week. Come here. We played a ton of Switch on Wii U. So once
Daddy wanted me.
we played a ton of Switch on Wii U. I mean Smash on Wii U. So he's about to get a Switch. So I sent him the link to the YouTube stuff on Smash, and he texted back at me. All he said was "Whoa."
There you go.
Yeah,
you know, and he's about it. So we kind of going back and forth on that. So he's hyped. You know, I love the fact that I have the GameCube controllers and the adapter here that's still compatible with the Switch. You know, so I don't have to go out and do that again because when I play Smash, I have to play with the GameCube controllers.
Yeah,
there you go.
So, so it's good that they didn't say, we're gonna resell them, repackage this whole thing to you, because you need a special Nintendo dongle like Apple would do to you. So I'm looking forward to Smash.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you on that. I think, like, to wrap up the Z3 stuff, because Sam's got to get going to talk more E3 stuff.
Something tells me Cal's going to be on time tonight.
Something tells me the last Son of Planet Xbox will make it on time.
Yeah, something tells me he's ready to talk.
Oh, but I'll tell you this, guys, as well. Fair warning, I'm going to be on ILP tomorrow morning. King David is unstoppable right now.
Oh man, I'm tuning into the next podcast. I'm tuning into the Iron Lords tomorrow, and definitely tuning into Last Sun tonight as soon as you go over, because I'm excited to hear what you guys are going to talk about.
King David has just to be like, after the Microsoft conference, he must have just been. That man is a fool, but he is one of my favorite people to watch because I've never met him, but from my interactions with him, I've never met someone that's so outgoing but still positive. Because even when he's trolling me, he's being nice about it, which is a talent in itself.
That's true.
He's 100%. I absolutely Iron Lords podcast, and as we wrap this up for the 5th time, I will say this is that the Iron Lords podcast is a rarity in the fact that there is nobody that shows up on that panel that I do not enjoy seeing their insights into games and everything else. They have one of the best panels and some of the greatest guys that I've had the pleasure of being podcasts on and talk with and everything else. So definitely tune into Iron Lords podcast tomorrow, because it'll basically be King David acting like a fool and Cog and Sam just laughing in the background.
It's gonna be great.
And I'm sure they'll get into this tomorrow for sure. But we had King David on Brap on Wednesday. And he said on 2 occasions.
Daddy, what'd you call me for?
I don't know. You opened the door, so we're saying you open the door again.
What's that present for?
I don't know. Talk to Mama. We're almost done.
Aw,
such a cute.
Lock it.
So he said on 2 occasions at E3. I'm sure he told you this too.
Yep, I know what you're gonna say.
Yeah, but I think our guys who are probably here too. He said, or maybe I should just leave it for him tomorrow because I'm sure he's gonna talk about it.
No, please tell.
Well, he said. Ibarra said to him, he asked if he was going to be there next year. He said, for sure. He said, it's going to be epic.
Yep.
And he said, in a completely different conversation, Phil told him the same exact thing.
Yep.
So, yeah. Take that for what it's worth.
Take it for what it's worth. And here's the thing. They said the same thing. They talked about how it was going to be epic in the same interview where they said, we're not done building our first party. We're going to continue building internal teams. Rare just got a new team. Rare's actually hiring again to build like a 5th internal team because they're dividing into, but back in the old Nintendo days where they worked with Nintendo and they had multiple internal teams, they're building more. And they said, look, we have the chance to acquire more studios or build more studios. We will jump on it.
All right. So does this mean I can get the hashtag wait till E3 rolling now? Like, it's 359 days till E3. Like, let's go, boys. All right, I'm totally kidding. So before we do
It's a
outros,
different meaning now.
before we do outros, if you check in the description below, there's the new official Gaming Perspective Discord, which everybody is free to join. It's an open invitation. So if you want to join and talk with the guys and hang out and whatnot, you can hop in the Discord. I should probably send Discord invites to the actual guys that are on this panel first.
That's probably a good idea.
So yeah, you'll be able to find us on Discord, everything else. I primarily, going forward, I'm going to be primarily using Discord more than Twitter. I'll still be posting my content and everything on Twitter, but I enjoy interacting on Discord a lot more because it gives me an opportunity to interact with the people I actually enjoy, so to speak.
Yeah. I'm not enjoying Twitter nearly as much.
I have a very carefully curated Twitter feed. Let's put it like that.
Yeah, I'm in the problem of I curated my follow list, but I cannot curate my follower list. So it's kind of an interesting scenario. But so yeah, the Discord's open to everybody. You want to talk games, you want to hang out, you want to like join us for games, anything like that. Hop in the Discord. It'll be pretty cool. So that's it for the Gaming Perspective tonight. We gotta wrap up so that Tick Podcast can start late.
Cal's probably already sending out the link right now. Like, we gotta go. We gotta do this.
All right.
Waiting all week.
So we'll do our outros here. Sam, where can people find you and all the good E3 stuff you're going to be writing about?
You can find me on Twitter at Samuel Talbert. You can find everything I write on tickgamesnetwork.com. If you like my articles, that's great because I got a ton coming. If not, you're going to want to mute me for a good week because I've got so many coming over this next week. It's not even funny.
You're
it
saying
really isn't.
To start, roughly?
Well, okay, so I'll give you a roadmap. So tomorrow, I should be dropping Ori and the Will of the Wisp impressions, Shadow of the Tomb Raider impressions, and Resident Evil 2 remake impressions.
Sweet.
That'll be a nice little teaser for you.
All right, I'm just going to cover news because my opinion pieces are going to get buried this week. No, it's fantastic. I'm glad Sam's part of this panel because he's one of the few writers that I frequently check opinion pieces on. Opinion pieces on general gaming sites are painful.
Yeah.
As a usual state, Sam does fantastic work. I don't say that just because he edits my articles and he can make me look like a tool if I don't say something nice. Sam does fantastic work. Jez Gordon does fantastic work. There's others that names escape me right now, but there's tons of people that do fantastic works that aren't necessarily part of your big IGN and Kotaku media machines. So definitely keep an eye out for those. Keep an eye out for Sam's pieces. I'll be retweeting them on the Gaming Perspective and my own Twitter throughout as they post. Jared, where can people find you?
Well, people can find me on Twitter at RageVirus_X or at TickGamesNetwork.com.
Right on. And just before we get to Eric's outro, a huge thank you to Jared for helping out on the Tick website on E3 while Sam was at E3. It was huge,
fun.
major help, especially on the Saturday where literally I don't think you and me got out of our computer chairs from like 11 o'clock in the morning till like 1 in the morning. That was a long day, but we covered a lot of stuff, and I really appreciated your help.
That's true.
Great.
Anytime, man. It was fun. It was a great experience, and I can't wait to do it again.
Right
Good, because you will.
Sorry, boss. Yes, boss.
Eric, where can good people find you?
Yeah, you can find me as well on Twitter at EC Jackson with an X. Also on Wednesday nights on Brad Podcast with Enrique and B Money of Tick fame.
Right on. And definitely check out Eric's Twitter. It's one of the
and Slow-Mo. I'm sorry. Shout out to Slow-Mo. Sorry, Slow-Mo. I didn't mean to forget you.
He's new, right? He's
All
new.
right. Don't worry. I'll clip that part, and I'll make sure I tag Slow-Mo in it.
Yeah.
No, fantastic. Definitely check out Eric's Twitter. It's one of the few sanctuaries for sane people on Twitter.
I tried, man.
Definitely really cool guy, and
Definitely.
I'm feeling a little homey. I'm not even using the right words here. Homely with podcast panel. It's been a fantastic. I think we've almost done 20 episodes now because I stopped numbering the episodes for E3 because it's just E3 stuff. But it's been fantastic doing this show every weekend with you guys, and we've got some really, really cool stuff that's going to be coming up in the next couple of weeks. Got some guests, some different stuff that no other podcasts are really doing right now. So it'll be interesting to say the least.
Yeah.
I can't wait to share those details with you guys through the Discord and my Twitter as well. So thank you guys for tuning in to the Gaming Perspective podcast. And we will see you guys next week with a brand new episode and a special guest. More to come on that later this week. Have a great day, guys.